Assalamu alaikum.
السلام عليكم.
Alaikum salam, Shaykh Haroon.
Alhamdulillah. كيف أنت? You okay?
Alhamdulillah. How are you doing?
I'm good, mashallah.
Yeah, another win under our belt.
As ever, for the great Tiago.
Subhanallah.
I was going to call myself Sheikh Tiago today, but I don't know with the egg cloth. Just hold on before we start. I need to get rid of it from behind me.
So keep typing in your questions. We're going to try and get through as many as possible today. We've been really bombarded with questions for the last few times we've been doing it, that we've struggled to make it through them, but we're going to do our best to get through as many useful questions as possible. I was saying that last few times we've been on, we've really been bombarded with questions and struggling to kind of get through them all, but I'm going to do our best today, inshallah.
Yeah. Can I just start by saying, I'm just reminding everybody of the passing today of the great Shaykh Nuruddin Ittar, rahimahullah ta'ala. Perhaps one of the greatest scholars of this time, undisputed, and we can't say with absolutes, but the highest level in terms of hadith scholarship in this ummah. And so when somebody like him passes away, it's a massive blow in the ummah, because the likes of those people, they're not replaced. The likes of me and Dr. Jawad, we're replaced all the time. But the likes of Shaykh Nuruddin Ittar, rahimahullah ta'ala, they're not replaced. So just before we start, inshallah, we'll dedicate this session to the memory of Shaykh Nuruddin Ittar, rahimahullah ta'ala, and we just ask everybody to start by reading Al-Fatiha. Bismillah. Yeah, Salam. Let's rock and roll.
Okay, so let's financial question here. So this is, again, every week we're getting financial questions. It's really useful. It's affecting everyone. So during the first 2 years at university, I paid for my tuition fees through student loans. This year I've saved up enough money to pay off the tuition fee for my final year up front instead of taking the loan. I've already accumulated interest from the years where I took the loan. So I was wondering whether there is much benefit if I paid upfront this year instead of taking a loan and instead use the money elsewhere.
Sheikh, where are you reading all of this from? I'm looking
right at the top.
Oh, yeah.
Well, almost near the top now.
I've just seen it.
Yeah. So any debt or interest from taking a student loan is wiped after 30 years of death or death.
Yeah.
Also, one only starts repaying after they start earning above the threshold of 27,000. The amount repaid each year is 9% of what you earn above that threshold, and the interest rate is 3%. So my main concern really is the interest.
What are you reading? Is it in the Q&A part of the chat?
No, Q&A. You look at the second question down.
Second question down is what hifz.
Where are you looking?
We want to do hifz. Oh, well, are you hiding stuff from me?
No. What's your? Yeah. So this is anyway. This is right at the top.
No, it's not. I'm looking different. Is Husnain with us? Shaykhina wa Imamina?
Yeah. He is.
Go on, repeat. I don't know why I can't see it, but go on, repeat it again, because I wasn't listening to you the first two times.
So it's about student loans. The first 2 years at university, they used student loans for the tuition fees.
Found it.
Okay.
Found it. Okay. I've saved up enough money to pay off the tuition fee for my final year up front instead of taking the loan. Yeah, Allahu A'lam. Yeah, definitely in that case, a safer option. If you're able to pay for your university education, your tuition fees without having to take out a loan, definitely that's a better option to do. So even with all of that stuff about, which you're right that you're not going to have to repay until you earn over 27k, and then there's a problem with the interest rate, and eventually it will get wiped out. With all of that, you're still dealing with interest. So even though you've already had to do that.
So in this one, what I think one of the part of the question is that they've already paid 2 years using student loans, but the final year they can do the final year, they can pay it off outright. So even though they've done the first 2 years, should they?
Even with that, like, if you've done it because you had to do it, now you don't need to do it.
Yeah.
Then don't do it. And don't do it. Allah. Hasni, what's Musa doing? He's a nuisance, man. That's what he is.
Okay. The JAL question is always a favourite.
Let's skip that for now. Let's skip that. Come back to that one. It's about women, and that's one of your favourite subjects, isn't it?
No, not at all. Not at all. One of my favourite subjects is listening to you talk about it. Yeah.
Javed, can you take that mask off and reveal your true personality to the public?
Not at all. Subhanallah. We have to protect the public. Dua for being paranoid. What duas are there for being paranoid?
Allah remove my paranoia.
Yeah.
Straight up, Allah remove my paranoia. Yeah, just make a general dua, inshallah. I'll look to see if there's anything more specific about that. But just on that, although there's a specific request there about a dua for paranoia, but the du'as of the Prophet are jawami' kawamil, the perfect, complete du'as. So just make those du'as because they, like, أسألك خير ما سألك منه عبدك نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. I ask you all of the good that your slave and your Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم asked. So ask those type of du'as because they're all comprehensive and they'll cover everything. But more particularly, Allah, just ask Allah some specific personal du'a about removing the paranoia from you. Marhaba, Sunnah.
You did hifz, didn't you, Shaykh?
I did, yeah.
How old were you when you did hifz?
It was a long thing. I started at madrasa as a kid.
Yeah.
When I came out to madrasa, I had up to just 27, so last 3.5 years of the Quran. But then after that, it was because of my father. Allah yarhamah, may Allah bless his soul. He had this real love for Quran and something that I took from him. So I always wanted that. It took me a long time because I was working full time. Then I used to work in a housing association. For 10 years I was working. And so while I was working, I was studying with Shaykh Haroon in Liverpool and also doing Hifz of Quran myself. So I just took my time doing it. But then at the end, because of a Taraweeh prayer, here in Liverpool, the chairman, he just pushed me. He said, finish your Hifz so that you can lead the prayer. So it became motivation. So it took me about 17 to 33 it was, or 32. So it took me like over 10 years to do it. But it was better that way. It wasn't a rush thing.
Because this question is asking if we want to do hifz, where do we start? I don't know how you started, but it's common for people to do the 30th juz first, and maybe go backwards. Some people start right at the beginning. What do you recommend?
What I recommend is find a good teacher, and then go with the system of the teacher. The teacher is the most important thing, especially with Hifz al-Quran. The teacher is the most important thing. Even if you did it off your own back and you just went and you start from the last 30, and then usually you do the last 30 or you do the last juz, and then just go from the beginning. It's normally with kids where some of them may do Hifz, some of them may not. You just move on to Tabarak and then Qad Sami'. But if you're dead serious about doing Hifz of the whole Quran, then do the last juz and then start from the front.
Okay.
But find a good teacher. Find a good teacher to help you through it.
And also, Quran question. At Dhuhr time, are there any surahs that are recommended to recite at Dhuhr time?
It's mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ, he would read Surah Yasin within the 4 rak'ahs. He encouraged reading Surah Yasin within the 4 sunnahs before Dhuhr, saying that it takes care.
Wait, after my mistake, after Dhuhr time.
There are some awrad from Mashaykh and ulama. But in terms of sunnah, I'm not aware that there's anything specific. Allahu A'lam. I don't know.
Okay, so let's go back to that finance question. If student finance is haram, can we then say, therefore a person's degree is haram, and therefore the money they earn from a job obtained because they got that degree is haram or not?
What do you think? Let me have some time.
Yeah, you don't want my opinion. I'm not on this. Yeah.
It's Dar al-Harb, isn't it? Doesn't really matter. There's no halal and haram, then is there? It's Dar al-Harb.
Okay.
Oh, stop please. Michio, I didn't realize you're in Medina. Please just convey my salam to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
And mine.
Yeah, he's asking both of us, yeah. He's saying, what's shaking Sheikh? What's up, Doc? Yeah, convey both of our salams to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just a personal request. Ask the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on my behalf that he allows me to return back. It's been a long time. It's been about 3-4 years. So I'll ask his permission for him that he allows me to return back. And also for Doc. Doc needs to go.
I mean, yeah.
Just to finish off Mitchell's question, what is the best thing to do say when doing ziyarah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah min Rasul. Ask the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to ask for forgiveness on your behalf, and also ask him for shafa'ah, ask him for intercession, ask him that he intercedes on your behalf. No. Don't forget us, Misho. Jazakallah khairan for that. Don't forget us when you're there with the Prophet. Jazakallah khairan. MashaAllah.
So did we answer that finance question? Can we just keep going on and saying, well, because my degree was student finance is haram, therefore degree is haram, therefore job's haram. Is that logical?
It is. It is. And now yustajabu lahu. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can still accept it. In principle, it is. Imam al-Ghazali and others, they mention that it's like building on top of a rubbish dump. So if the foundations are filth, then what comes out of it's filth. So it's definitely a problem.
Isn't that more from a tasawwuf point of view rather than a
No, I think that's more, even in principle. Even in principle, I think it's an issue.
Okay.
Say salam to everyone.
All right, Qasim has come back. Qasim, actually, no, this is a different question, isn't it? All right, no, this is the same question. So Qasim asked a few weeks ago that he's working in a very demanding job and he lives with his parents and he's become engaged to a lady from Saudi Arabia, currently living in Pakistan. He hasn't met them or their family before. So one of his main concerns is that when she comes here to the UK, that she'll feel quite alone and isolated, and she doesn't have any family here and isn't comfortable speaking English. So what would you recommend he could do to maybe help her feel comfortable with being here in a strange land?
What would you advise on that?
It's difficult. It's difficult. He's asking you though. He's asking you. He wants your saintly advice.
He hasn't said anything. He hasn't mentioned any name. He hasn't said anything. Just Islam.
He's WhatsApped me to say I want to get Shaykh Haroon to answer my question. That's his talab.
Sheikh Musa, are you going to answer that question? This is little Sheikh Musa.
MashaAllah.
I'm not sure, yeah.
He's not a sheikh yet. That's what he's. He's planning to be.
I'm not
It's a
planning
tough one though. I mean, even ladies who are born and brought up here, when they get married, they feel alone.
Yeah.
You know. Obviously, this is a more extreme example. What do you recommend?
Don't bring her here, man. Don't bring her here. Worst place to live as a Muslim, especially somebody who's been raised in Muslim lands. But if you must do, find for her, for yourself and for her, a community of Muslims that you feel comfortable with. Even if it means that you may need to move. You need people around you that will strengthen you in your practice and in your religion, and people and who are a good influence on you. So find such people for yourself as well as for her. And if it means that you need to move, then so be it. Speaking English, the other issue with that is that there are sizable Muslim communities here where like Saudi, she's a Saudi woman, so there's sizable like Arabic speaking communities here. Liverpool, Manchester, all of these cities, there's large communities. So if you're taking her away from there, then find somewhere that she will feel comfortable with.
Or Qasim could join the Arabic madrasa.
Do I know Qasim by the way?
Yeah, from Micro, is in our class.
Manchester?
Not all the way into Manchester. Nice curly hair. Don't you?
Yeah.
You used to sit next.
Yeah.
So, okay. There's another question about du'as for pregnancy-related issues. So that's a little open there. I'm not sure.
It depends what the particular issue is.
Yeah.
Depending what the issue is.
Let's start off with du'as in terms of people who are trying to have a pregnancy and a successful pregnancy. Is there any off the top of your head for people trying to get pregnant?
Yeah, the dua of Zakaria alayhi salam, Rabbi la tadharni fardan wa anta khayrul warithin. That comes in Surah Al-Anbiya and also in Surah Ali Imran. Also the dua of Zakaria alayhi salam, Rabbi habli min ladunka dhurriyatan tayyibah. They're the two du'as that are always advised. I have, and maybe I'll share it with you, Shaykh Salih al-Himawi, one of the greats from Syria. He used to recommend a particular dua, which is mujarrab, which is tried, that helps a person, or a couple who are looking to get married. I'm just trying to find it, but I got sent that dua and it's something that should be shared. Allahu Akbar. I'll find the dua inshallah. Oh yeah, here it is. I'll just read it out. This is from Shaykh Salih al-Himawi. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك يا مغيث أغثني يا مغيث أغثني يا مغيث أغثني بولد صالح يسعدني وأسعده رب لا تذرني فردا وأنت خير الوارثين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد اللهم آمين يا حليم يا كريم يا عليم يا علي يا عظيم يا Allah. And you read that 40 times after the sunnahs of Fajr daily, and inshallah ta'ala Allah will bless that person with a child.
So is there any about people who are having difficult pregnancies?
There will be, but I don't know them. I don't know. Who's Rawdah Trust? Who just asked me to send it, and then we'll send it on this chat. Who's Mr. Rawdah Trust?
I have no idea.
Thaqib, it's Thaqib. Okay, let me just forward it on to Thaqib, and he said he's going to share it. He's going to share it in the chat. Go on. What else have we got going?
Shirk. What's the hukum on Muslims who unknowingly commits an act of shirk? What would the principal actions by intentions apply?
يعني الشرك المخرج عن الملة أو شرك خفي. It depends what you're talking about. You're talking about shirk that takes you out of the fold of Islam. Unknowingly, that requires shahada to be taken again. And the person should say daily anyway. Like they said 3 times a day to say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min an ushrika bika shay'an wa ana a'lamu wa astaghfiruka lima la a'lamu. Allah, I take refuge with you from committing shirk knowingly and ask forgiveness for doing so unknowingly. So that should be read 3 times a day as a protection. That should be read 3 times a day as a protection from falling into shirk. But if a person does, and it's actual real shirk, then a person should just say the shahada again to come back into Islam. But again, that's where it's categorical, because although it's with Muslims now, anything's possible because we're all over the place. But to commit shirk unknowingly, a shirk that makes you a kafir, it's actually a very difficult thing to do.
Can you give some examples of something that somebody might do that would take them out of Islam?
One that I mentioned, belittling anything that's sacred in religion. And there's a lot of that going on right now.
So is it like, for instance, we've got a lot of comedians, Muslim comedians?
Yeah. I mean, I know that's one that gets you all the time. But it's a fair point. Like, what's his name? Hassan Minhaj. Hassan Minhaj, like mocking dua. The way he was mocking dua. Right? That's essentially a statement of kufr. Those type of statements. Even though it may be seen as something small and insignificant, like miswak, but something like the miswak, somebody mocks and belittles that.
So, like, for instance, I'll tell you what I've seen quite commonly on social media is people start sharing, and good Muslims as well, they're sharing videos of, I don't know, a group of people pretending to pray and then doing something daft, right? Or the imam in the prayer doing something daft. Where would that fall?
Allah, I don't want to say. I don't want to say. Let's leave it at that.
Okay, that's fair.
You want to say something about that?
I'm trigger happy, so I'm not going to say anything.
Alhamdulillah, you're not a qadi.
Yeah.
It would be worse than Hussein.
Okay, so here's is it correct in the Shafi school? I don't know why they're asking you about Shafi school, but
no idea.
Is it correct that in the Shafi school, following a conquest, mushrikeen, meaning specifically not Ahli Kitab, do not have the option to pay jizya and therefore must be killed?
See, what I do know on that, wallahu alam, and the Ahl al-Dhimma, al-Dhimmiyun, like non-Muslims have protected stated in Muslim lands. For the Hanafis, that's any non-Muslim. Whereas for it's not just Shafi'iyya, there's the Jumhur, the majority said that's only Christian and Jews. Only Christian and Jews can reside in, only Christians and Jews are the Ahl Dhimma who can reside in Muslim lands. So I don't know about must be killed. I don't know about that. So the concept of jizya with the majority is just Jews and Christians, whereas the Hanafis say any faith.
So jizya, just to be clear, jizya is a small payment that they make, and they get the same sort of protection as the Muslim citizens, basically. Whereas what this is, from what you've said, what they're saying is that they don't pay the jizya, but then they also don't get the protection that maybe the Jews and the Christians.
More than that, they do not live in normal. They're not allowed to live in Muslim lands. That's my understanding of the view of the majority.
Okay.
Adib, Ahlan. Have you met Adib before? Adib's on the Q&A.
Oh my gosh.
He says, what is this Haroon Hanif's qualifications?
Yeah. These sessions are hard enough without Adib joining in. Yeah.
Adib, have you met Dr. Javed before? In fact,
Yeah.
you know what, Javed, I'm going to have Adib replace you.
Yeah. But anyone to replace me, inshallah.
He's already started.
Here's a question from living in the Middle East in a Wahhabi country. Is it permissible for me to pray in the masjid behind the Salafi imams? And what about when one is in the Haramain? I think we answered that last time, didn't we?
I think we did. But just to be clear on that, somebody who's a known deviant who carries a belief that's outside of Ahl Sunnah, it is makruh to pray behind them. Makruh tahreem to pray behind them. So apply that. So if you know that the imams they hold clearly deviant views that takes them out of the fold of Ahl Sunnah, then it is makruh to pray behind them. Allahu A'lam. That's the general principle.
But as you said last time, a lot of the ulama from Sham.
Yeah, they pray behind the imams at Haram.
Yeah, and I know. Was it Shaykh Zain, the Shafi scholar in Medina?
Habib Zain Sumait.
Habib, yeah, Zain. He mentioned that we pray behind everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously from the Shafi perspective, but that because Shaykh Nu mentioned that once in one of his lessons. But wallahu alam. Yeah. Okay. Is it permissible to narrate confirmed fabrications, even those which have been passed on with a chain? Unfortunately, it seems that this occurs often at Mawlid's gatherings. Say the Maryam, say the Asiya being present at the birth of the Prophet ﷺ, as an example.
Again, what are you looking at? Are you just going random? Are you going from the top?
It's close to the top, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. It is haram to transmit mawdu'at, fabricated traditions. It is haram to transmit confirmed fabrications. But on that, that's where it is agreed that it's a fabrication. Like the muhaddithin as a whole have agreed it's a fabrication. Knowing it's fabricated and still transmitting is haram. And that's the ulama. Because amat an-nas, and most wa'idhin, most people who stand up and give reminders and warnings and so on, they're amat an-nas. They're not like strongly educated in science of hadith. So they're more often than not, they're hearing what the mashayikh are saying and copying that. So it's those who are mutamakkinin, those who are firm in knowledge, they should be more cautious about this and careful. Yet at the same time, a lot of it is based on books of tasawwuf or books of seerah and so on. And it is known that within them that there are mawdu'at, that there are fabricated They're all fabricated traditions. So there has to be care. There definitely has to be care. Allahu A'lam.
What are you saying about niqab in non-Muslim lands? Some scholars say it makes non-Muslim women more open to religion when niqab is not adopted. What's your understanding of that?
I take the view of what my teacher Shaykh Samir al-Nasri mentioned. He says niqab it's not a qat'i fard, it's not an even though the Hanafi states it's obligatory, it's not like an unchangeable obligation. Sometimes it will be fard, like if you go to places in the Muslim world where all the women wear it, then it is fard upon her to wear it. Where it exposes her to danger, then it may even fall into hurma, prohibition, if she's going to get attacked, and she knows she's going to get attacked. So living in non-Muslim lands, and the advice that I was given, or the hukm that I was given, around Muslims, a woman who's always moving around Muslims, like some communities where there's only Muslim women, there's only Muslims, then there, Muslim women should try and wear niqab. But to say categorically, and if they're moving in the company of non-Muslims, then it's perhaps better they don't. So niqab is not an absolute in religion. It's something where the hukm can change the rule can change based on the situation. Michio. Yes, Sheikh Jurgen Klopp and his army will beat Arsenal on Monday. Yes, we will. And what you should be standing in front of the Rawdah. You shouldn't be talking about Jurgen Klopp right now. Can you go to the Rawdah? Can you go now and give my salams? Bismillah, let's carry on.
Okay, so what's the best way to give dawah nasiha to non-Muslims?
Ya Rab, whoever asked that should have attended yesterday's class on Surah Yasin. Habib al-Najjar, that's the best way. Ya qawm ittabi'u al-mursaleen, ittabi'u man la yas'alukum ajran wa hum mursalun, wa hum muhtadun, wa ma li la a'budu alladhi fatarani wa il. And we studied that yesterday, and one of the key things that came out is that Habib al-Najjar, and he was driven by this compassion towards his people. He had this sincere, deep-rooted wish and love that they become Muslim, that they be saved. And that's what should motivate a person. That's what should push a person. Yes, they're not believers. Yes, they may even hate Islam, because in the story we studied, they were about to kill the messengers. Despite that, all he was concerned about is saving his people from eternal hellfire. So carry mercy and compassion in your heart towards all of humanity, and that will enable you to speak in the best of manner. Allahu A'lam. And then bil hikmah, say the right things for the right occasion. Naam, tafaddal.
We've had a few people today and over the weeks wondering how they can contact you if they want to speak about something so specific but personal. Should they contact Rawdah or? Yeah,
get them in touch with Rawdah and they'll get in touch with you.
Yeah, okay.
The easiest way.
So here's a complicated one. If a woman is not yet divorced, and by the grace of Allah, you were given the opportunity to marry someone else without actually looking for it, then is it right for the woman to speak to a man whilst not yet being divorced? And can they speak during the waiting period?
No. Ya Rab, what's going on there? Like, this is a married woman, like actually considering marriage. Ya Rab.
I don't think they were looking for it, but someone's obviously mentioned it to them.
Even with that, build that discussion up until after. Like, it's haram. It's haram to propose for a woman who's in iddah. It's haram to even make suggestions about the possibility, except in one case. The Quran indicates one case, which is iddat al-mutawaffa anha zawjuha, like a widow. Even then, it's haram to make a direct proposal, but a suggestion can be made, like inni raghibun feek, that I'm interested in you. But that's with a widow. right? A woman who's married, even though the marriage is coming to an end, there's no way that, Hussein, what have you been doing, mate? Have you been chatting up with married women? How would it be?
Okay. Weddings, still that on the topic of weddings, what's the sunnah of weddings? What's the best way to start a marriage?
Yeah. Yeah, not do it like it's done now. Not to be blown for 10, 20, 30,000 on marriages.
COVID shadi.
But yeah, it's perfect. Because one of the blessings of COVID, it shows you how cheap you can get a marriage done.
Yeah.
So keep it simple, don't be extravagant.
We've had a few people get married when it's just been family. They've remarked on how much more they enjoyed the marriage.
Because for the couple themselves, there's virtually no pressure on them.
Yeah.
Like with the couple, like hundreds of people in front of them, they've got to almost like perform for an audience. Like it puts so much pressure on them. Keep it simple. Keep marriages simple.
Okay. Insurance. Can we have anything other than car insurance? Can we take out any other kind of insurance?
In principle, no. The principle is that insurance is haram. Car insurance is a legal requirement. So in principle, no. Unless there's a legal requirement and it's going to bankrupt somebody, then perhaps. فاسألوا أهل الذكر. Go and ask the Mufti.
Okay. Do the rules of idda still get classed outside of the sitting time, i.e. the times in between when she's not sitting it? If you find someone to marry before the idda, can you still speak to that person during?
That's the same question, isn't it?
No, it's the same question essentially, but I'm not. It's someone else who's typed it, I think. But you answered that, didn't you?
Yeah, categorical no.
Okay. And then back to the insurance one. Can we have building only insurance?
I don't know the answer to that. The reason why I'm saying I don't know is that in fact, you could help with this. To buy a property, you don't need to take insurance, do you?
No, it's not a legal requirement, but should anything happen to that property, then that person might find themselves without a home.
I don't know. I'll look into that, inshallah. I'll come back on that.
Yeah, I think like contents is one thing, but building, I think what's on their mind is.
Yeah, but we're not talking about contents insurance.
No, it's building.
Yeah.
Okay, for having two appointed wakils in divorce, as pressure is being put on the husband to accept the divorce, this means he wasn't accepting that it was going to happen and he's stubborn about it. And if he says, I divorce her in front of the wakils, then is she divorced? How does he have to say, or does he have to say it to her?
So he's appointed two people to. It's strange that. Yeah, you can have wakils and you can have that. But once you've appointed somebody else to divorce your wife for you, it doesn't mean that it doesn't change anything about you, the husband. So if in front of the wakils or in front of anybody, he just says, I've divorced my wife, then it's a divorce. And yeah, as a general rule, like just generally, no, a man doesn't need to say them to his wife. He doesn't need to say it to his wife directly. She needs to be informed. She needs to be told so that she can do her iddah. But he doesn't need to say it in front of her, no.
Okay. Dua or advice in helping one find their shaykh?
Make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He takes you to a guide who himself is guided.
Are there any true sheikhs?
Just me and you left now, mate.
Not even us. Not even us. Because that's a trendy thing now, isn't it?
What is?
You know, telling everyone that there's no true sheikhs around. It used to be we found a sheikh, and now it's like, there's no true sheikhs. I've gone past that stage.
Did you used to believe that there was no sheikhs?
No, not me, but it's it's a growing position that I've seen a lot of Facebook طلاب العلم
You know, the
adopting.
danger with that, the danger with that is that, and there will always be people of guidance in the Sunnah until the day of judgment. There will always be people of guidance, both in terms of realms of outward knowledge as well as spiritual guidance. They will always be there in the Sunnah. So the problem, yes, there are fakes there. Yes, there are like false guides, but that's been the case from day one. Like there's false prophets. There were false, like Musaylim al-Kadhab, there were liar prophets. The Dajjal, the prophets nice and spoke about Antichrist that will appear. So it's a problem, even at the highest level, it existed as a problem. There is false scholarship that's out there as well. But then just to like constantly attacking, like it turns people away when people need it more than anything else. It turns people away from even those who are true guides.
Mm.
And so, yeah, just make dua to Allah. And you need hadeen and muhtadeen. You need guides who themselves are guided. So people need to be, yes, there needs to be care because we live in an akhir zaman, the last days of humanity. So the vast majority out there are misguided. They're guiding people and they themselves are misguided, but there are true guides. And if a person is sincere, he will find. Adib, my opinion, Sheikh Bilal Brown, is that he's one of the wisest of all people because he ditched you. He got rid of you. And instead he dumped you on me. No,
Qari Ijaz Iqbal from Bradford is asking, what is shirk aqli and shirk
Shari'i.
shar'i? Yeah. And what is Tawheed Rabbaniya and Tawheed ila
Aluhiyya.
Aluhiyya?
Oh, Ajib. Is that Ijaz Iqbal from Bradford or from Liverpool?
Oh no, I thought it was Bradford.
No, I think it's the micro students.
Oh, right.
If it's Ijaz Iqbal from micro, ask the question at Micro Madrasa. If it's not, then Allahu Alam who's created these terms, shirk aqli and shirk shar'i. Tawheed uluhiyya, and it's not Rabbani, they call it Rububiyyah. That's a deep people, that's a Salafis. The innovation, the innovated categories of Tawheed. They created false categories of Tawheed by which they were able to accuse Muslims of committing shirk by saying that they have Tawheed Rububiyyah but not Uluhiyya. So they compared Muslims to Mushrikeen. Wallahu A'lam.
Okay, this is an interesting one. Harut and Marut, who are they?
Harut and Marut are two angels that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to test the people of Babylon with magic, and they told them beforehand that إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ فِتْنَةٌ فَلَا تَكْفُرْ, but true, we are a tribulation, so don't disbelieve. So Harut and Marut are angels. The Quran is clear, they're angels. And the nature of angels is لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم. They do not disobey Allah in anything that they've been ordered. So Harut and Marut, there are some alleged stories about there are some alleged stories around Harut and Marut that they strayed and they fell into haram. And although there are some famous scholars who held that view that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created within them free will and then they slipped. But the view of the majority is not that their angels were ma'asumeen. So we believe that their angels were infallible. Wallahu a'lam.
Is it interesting? I've not heard this before. Nazreen Akhtar is asking, is it true that if you drown, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes your soul, not the angel of death?
Yeah, there is. I'll look into that. There is something about that. There is something about that. Allah.
Sheikh, there's a video on YouTube where you explain that our Islamic calendars are not based on whatever Saudi Arabia says, but by global and local sighting. But mosque follows the Saudi calendar, i.e., days are the same, the Shura fast, etc. Please, can you clarify this further? Why your mosque follows this view?
My mosque.
I'm just reading the question. But I thought you followed Saudi. I thought you were.
Me?
Yeah. I thought you were pretty strict on that. Yeah.
Hold on a second. What are you on about?
Yeah. With your premature Eids.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hussein, you've seen this guy? He's firing some shots here. So what's this then? Please, can you clarify? Hold on, is it gone?
No, it's just slipped down.
Why you must follow this view? My must? I don't know what he's talking about. So what's the point in this question?
So I'm not 100% sure, but Islamic calendars, are we bound to follow what Saudi says, or is the criteria that we follow?
No, we're not. We either have global sighting, which is the view of the Hanifis, the majority in fact. Anywhere in the Muslim world that it's sighting, you take that. Or the Shafi'is, they take local sighting, that every region bases it upon their own sighting. So that's the standard views that have existed in this Ummah up until modern time. In the modern era, when Muslims don't really know much, they took Saudi Arabia as the centre of everything. So Allahu A'lam. But then the other point is that to avoid fitna and avoid like splitting communities, then you do need to look at what your mosque is doing instead of breaking up communities, especially when it comes to Eid. You need to look at your community.
So, I mean, just on the issue of local sighting, I think a lot of people think local sighting is anywhere in the UK, right? Yeah. Or anywhere. But I could be wrong. Did I read that local is defined as in how many farsakh it is? And that's actually quite a small area. It's like probably not even a county size. It's probably less than maybe a big city sort of size.
It is a very small area.
So like when people say I do local sighting because I take it, somebody across the country take it, they're not really doing local sighting at that point, are they?
That's not local sighting.
Yeah.
I remember from one Shafi scholar, he said local sighting is within travel distance.
Yeah.
Which again, as you rightly said, that's a very small region, that is.
Because there are groups of people who are doing some nice work, trying to encourage people to get out and do moon sighting, but they talk about local sighting, but what they're actually saying is not local sighting.
Yeah.
Because they'll take it anywhere from the UK.
Well, this is one of your passions, isn't it?
Well, you've grown up with it, yeah. It's okay. Is a nikah valid if either the man or woman is not sound of mind or has a condition where they may not fully understand what is happening, or what marriage is? For example, has a medical condition affecting their mind or their in mental age?
If it's confirmed that that person does have some type of mental issue, and is of unsound mind, where they're not able to, they don't understand what they're saying, then one of the shurut of nikah is al-aql. It is a sound mind. So so that nikah would not be valid. Allahu Akbar.
Hassan Masood's asking where your Liverpool background is.
What do you mean with Liverpool? Where I'm from?
Your virtual background, your Liverpool.
Oh, okay.
Backdrop.
Sorry about that, brother. Sorry. Let me just get it going. It's a fair point. So I forgot about that. It was mad. I had a meeting not so long ago with Shaykh Haroon, and it was last time we did this. That night I had a meeting, and I forgot to remove him.
Yeah.
I came on to the meeting with him, and he's looking at me. disapproving of it. Just 1 second, let me get it for Hassan. Allah. I can't find it. Want anything else?
Yeah, Adil Qadus is asking, how
Oh, forget
does
it.
one... It's an important question. He's asking,
Yeah,
these ignorant, brilliantly inclined elders are not listening to him. And he goes, they won't listen to...
He himself is an ignorant, brilliantly inclined youngster. That's what he is.
Yeah. So he wants some techniques
To do what?
to be able to handle these elders. Like, I mean, how did you do it in Liverpool? How did you...
We don't have Brilvies in Liverpool.
You don't know what?
We don't have Brilvies in Liverpool.
Yeah, but you have elders that you have to contend with, right?
I'm an elder.
I know some of them as well.
I'm an elder right now in Liverpool.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know Ustad?
Sorry, I can't find the background. Hassan, I can't find the background. Sorry about that.
Someone's asking whether you know Ustad Muhyiddin Al-Jabi.
I do, mashallah. The Munshid who's based in Rochdale / Oldham, mashallah. Blessed man. Give him my salams whoever's asking.
Could you complete the story of Surah Yasin in the 4 Sunnah before Dhuhr, please?
What's that actually asking?
I don't know.
Are we allowed to do that? Or
could you complete the story of Surah Yasin in the 4 Sunnah before Dhuhr, please?
What do you understand from that question?
I don't.
Whoever's asked that question, can you rephrase the question? I don't understand what it is.
Okay, here's a good one. How does a qualified scholar balance teaching the deen and work?
With a lot of difficulty. And that's why. And you have 2 approaches to this. There are some ulama, muhtatun, who err on the side of caution, and they will try their utmost to ensure that they have their own livelihood, so they're not reliant on anything or anyone. But then by that it diminishes and lessens their ability to be able to teach and to preach and to guide people. But then there are others who historically, particularly in the early days, they were supported by the Muslim state, like Qadi, Mufti and all these. Because they had official positions, they were provided for, so they had no need to take care of that, take care of anything. So there was no issue then. They could just devote their lives to serving. Allahu Akbar. So it's a difficult balance. If somebody, if he's an alim who has to provide for himself, then it does become a difficult balance. Allahu Akbar.
In relation to your takfir of people, you'll understand. Because Anonymous is asking, if I ever belittled anything in Islam, will Allah forgive me? And you said that it's an act of shirk. I'm not sure you said it was shirk.
The Quran says that قُلْ أَبِ اللَّهِ وَآيَاتِهِ وَرَسُولِهِ كُنْتُمْ تَسْتَهْزِئُونَ لَا تَعْتَذِرُوا قَدْ كَفَرْتُمْ بَعْدَ إِيمَانِكُمْ. Say to them, is it about Allah and His messenger, His signs and His messenger that you ridicule, you mock? Make no excuses, you're unbelievers after you've believed. But the Quran is clear about that.
But if you make tawbah from it, right? If you...
It was always tawbah.
Yeah.
I think you attended the tafsir class, and I think that إِلَّا الَّذِينَ تَابُوا, the ayah about murtadeen, the ayah about apostates, the door's always open, except for those who repent and change themselves. Allah's Ghafoor Rahim.
Roxana is asking, is having a strong attachment to a person or a worldly thing classed as shirk when something has a stronghold on a person?
That's not... when we're speaking about shirk in the when we're speaking about shirk in the sense of something that takes you out of the fold of Islam, then that's not shirk. That's not shirk that takes a person out of the fold of Islam. It's human nature that you do have attachments to aghyar, to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People of a high spiritual rank, it's about breaking those attachments so that Allah subhanahu becomes their only attachment. That's a high spiritual rank. That's a high spiritual state. But that's what the sister's asking. That's not shirk in the sense that we understand it.
Okay, so here's another anonymous question. How should we treat sensitive children? Should we be gentle with them in words and actions, or expect them to toughen up and expect the same from them as we do from other children?
How many kids have you got?
5. Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, Barak feehim. Answer the question then. You're a father.
No, I think you should, because it could well be from my home. So I think you better answer the question. I don't know for sure, but
How old's your oldest, by the way?
Zaid's 12, almost 13. It'll be 13 soon.
Mine's 15. Zainab's 15.
MashaAllah.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
Teenagers are nightmare.
Yeah, 12, and then the youngest is a few months, or 4 months. Yeah, so.
Adib, be quiet, Adib. Adib just accused me of being a 5-year-old infant.
Deep, man, taking up bandwidth. Okay, so how should we treat sensitive children? Should we be gentle with them, or try to toughen them up, treat them the same as other children, or expect?
Honestly, I'll give you my thoughts. This is not, and here, in fact, let me just say this before answering this. You come to a Q&A to discuss about certain like religious matters. This is about parenting skills. Go and ask my wife. She thinks I'm doing an awful job. And I tell you that as well. Ask my daughter as well. Raising children is trial and error. You do certain things, you make mistakes and so on. So I don't even want to answer that one. That's more about that's more about it's about parental skills. So don't ask me stuff like that. I'm a
You want a zakat question? Shall we give you a zakat question?
yeah, go on.
Okay. Is it permissible to give zakat in advance on the year? As an example, can you give it 1 month prior to the usual assigned time of giving?
Yes, we can. But before that, yes, you can, yeah. But before that, Ahmed Shahid, I've just seen yours. Ahmed, you were kicked out for a reason, weren't you? He's asking to be added back to the community group. He was kicked out because I think Liverpool had lost a game. So him and his United mates were gloating about it. But I can't even remember what game, because we hardly ever lose. But I should add him back in, because weren't this the same team about 4 weeks ago saying that they're going to be challenging to win the Premier League? And now where are. So Ahmed, I'll put you back in. I should have put you back in, especially after Palace. And also congratulations on destroying mighty Luton 3-0. Oh,
That scoreline did not reflect the game, though.
I didn't watch it. I haven't got time to watch it.
Okay. He's asking you about Viagra as well. He wants to know about Viagra.
Think about Viagra for a second. Just going back to that zakat question. So yes, you can pay zakat in advance. Allahumma salli ala. The only thing you need to be careful of there is that when you do pay in advance, you must be above the threshold on that date and keep a record of whatever you paid. And then on your actual zakat date, just check to ensure that you paid the correct amount, because it may be that you've come into wealth since then, so you may actually need to pay more. Allahu a'lam.
Okay, so Ahmed's asking about Viagra. Can he sell Viagra on the possibility that it might be used for haram reasons? And then would he be blameworthy? And that this sort of question has been asked by a few pharmacists. Like, he follows it up with about the morning after pill. You know, are they allowed to sell these things? Are they culpable?
Ahmed, I want to say something, but it's too public. It's too public. Allahumma salli ala. Just on that, Sheikh Samir al-Nas, hafidhahullah ta'ala, was asked a question about morning after pill, and he said it's lawful to sell. So even though you know that person is going to use it for haram, whether it's Viagra, whether it's a morning after pill, could be like someone coming in to buy a packet of condoms, for example. You can clearly see that he's going to use it for haram. Then, yeah, it's lawful. It's lawful. Allahu a'lam.
Did you say niqab is fard in Hanafi madhab?
Yeah, that's pretty much, yeah. Most of the later Hanafis said that. A shab, a young woman who's not reached old age, they said it's fard upon her to cover herself, yeah. It's not the original view in the madhab. It's not the original view. The original view from Abu Hanif is that the face and the hands are not awra. The feet is a point of difference, but the later Hanafis, they took it as fard, yeah.
Okay. What are your views on Sufism and which ones are reliable to follow? ZD is asking.
Sufism? Who's a Sufi, mate? Do you want to answer that? Because I know you're a hardcore Sufi.
No, I'm not particular. You know, these are just.
You're a Shadili boy, aren't you, mate?
Yeah, look.
You do your dodgy.
Look, you can't go through life without trusting anybody, right? You've got to trust someone at some stage, and just like anything else, you find someone who seems to live what they preach, and if they're recognized by other people, and they've got a bit of mileage under them, then it increases the chances that they may be reliable. I don't know. I mean, I'm happy with my sheikh.
When did you go to a Hadra?
When did I last go to Hadra?
Yeah.
I can't remember. It's been locked down for ages, hasn't it?
Sufi raves, yeah. That's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I don't come from that background. I don't even come from a background where we used to do knots and things like that. It's all foreign to me. So initially it was, my first Hadra was in Damascus, and I was like eyes open thinking, what's going on? And Shaykh Faraz like nudged me and said, eyes closed. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I need to keep my eyes open. I need to see what's happening.
Those Damascus Hadras, they're crazy. They were wild, some of those.
Yeah, and they're massive, absolutely huge. I couldn't see the end where people ended, but yeah, and then you had to.
Just mention one experience I had one time. I don't know if you know Jami' Toba, where Sheikh it was Sheikh Muhammad Sa'id Burhani and then his son Sheikh Hisham Burhani, rahimahullah. So I think I prayed there one Jumu'ah, and after every Jumu'ah they used to have a public hadra there. And I know I just joined in. I just started, for some reason, Sheikh Hisham started pointing at me. And to go, and I'm like,
go forward.
Yeah, no, to start leading the hadra. I'm like,
oh, right. Yeah.
That was madness. That was. So,
Okay.
so what was it about? What's your views on Sufism?
Yeah, what's your views on Sufism, and how do you find someone reliable?
My general view is that it's not. Al-Ihsan is an essential component of religion. Now, purification of the self is an essential part of religion. Tasawwuf itself is a system that's formalized, as with all of the branches of religion. And there are people, as with all branches of religion, there are people who show you and guide you along that. And then, as with all branches of religion, then there are also false practitioners. You've got mawdu'at in hadith, fabricated hadith. That doesn't disqualify the whole science of hadith. You've got Israeliyat in tafsir. That doesn't disqualify the whole science. So when you've got problems within certain elements of Sufism, it doesn't disqualify the whole. So the spiritual way is an essential part of this religion. It's أخبرني عن الإحسان ويزكيهم. It's clear in the Quran and Sunnah. The problems that have developed within the system doesn't negate it in any way whatsoever. Wallahu a'lam.
What are the names of Abil and Kabil in Arabic? Abel, Cain and Abel.
Habil and Qabil.
Yeah, so it's Cain and Abel in English, and
Abel.
yeah, Cain and Abel, but I think they put Kabil.
Yeah. Habil and Qabil.
Habil and Qabil. What are your views on blasphemy laws?
What are you lolling? Adil? If what you mean by that is that laws putting to death blasphemers, that's part of Sharia. That's part of Sharia. So in the Hanafi madhab, if somebody insults prophets, and the dhimmi as a non-Muslim is put to death. So that's part of Sharia. Wallahu a'lam. So Wallahu a'lam. So it's definitely part of Sharia.
Okay, so can otherworldly realities such as heaven, the Lot tree, and the Buraq be drawn? Are you allowed to make drawings of them?
I don't think so. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer, but I don't think so. But I don't know the answer.
Ibrahim Hussein is asking, who was Waraqa bin Nawfal? May Allah bless you and keep me in your dua.
You answer that question, please. You study Seerah.
Yeah.
You answer the question.
Waraqa bin Nawfal he was related to Khadija radiallahu anha. And interestingly, actually, that branch of the family of the his sort of first cousins, a lot of them were Hanif. I mean, he's well known, but I know there's more than one first cousin at least.
I'm a Hanif as well.
Yeah, mashallah. You're Qurayshi, aren't you?
Yeah,
Qurayshi. So yeah, there was something about not just Waraqa bin Nawfal, but that whole sort of family that seemed to be very connected to Tawheed and to prophecy. So yeah, and he adopted Christianity, right? Because he saw in that a truth, but he wasn't Trinitarian in his belief.
Yeah.
And
can I just add to that as well? Waraqa bin Nawfal. So as Sheikh Javed has just mentioned, he was a cousin of Sayyidah Khadija, and he recognized the Prophet's Naisam when Sayyidah Khadija brought the Prophet's Naisam to him. He recognized that it's the same as what the Namus that came to Musa alayhi salam, the angel that came to Musa alayhi salam. And there's an agreement that Waraqa bin Nawfal radiyallahu anhu is min Ahl al-Jannah. There's an agreement that he's from Ahl al-Jannah. Wallahu a'lam.
What are your thoughts on the study Quran?
My thoughts is that we need to study the Quran.
MashaAllah. Yeah.
We need to study the Quran.
Brilliantly dodged.
No, I'm not. No, hold on. Have you got rid of that?
Yeah. No, but it's only a short question. I remember. I can repeat it if you like. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the study Quran?
Nobody should touch it. People should stay away from it.
And what would you say about people who do touch it?
The problem with them. This is my thoughts on the study Quran. Sheikh Javed, you're welcome to agree or disagree. La ilaha illallah. I view it the same as Al-Kashaf of Al-Zamakhshari. Al-Kashaf of Al-Zamakhshari was a hardline Mu'tazili, staunch Mu'tazili. Al-Kashaf, for those who aren't aware, is a 4-volume commentary on the Quran in Arabic. One of the most, from the perspective of language, one of the most amazing tafsirs of the Quran from a language perspective. And in classes that we do, it's something that ulama, they reference all the time, ulama of Ahl Sunnah. So for the ulama to use the likes of al-Kashaf it's standard, it's accepted, because the ulama are able to sift out his deviancy. So Zamakhshari was a deviant, a staunch hardliner. The awam should never touch. The uneducated Muslim who doesn't know how to pray, doesn't know what's right and wrong in terms of belief, should not touch it. I see the study of Quran the exact same as that. Like when people say, people are intelligent, they can look at it and take out what's right and wrong. Intelligence here is about religious understanding. And this perennialist idea, which is clear in some in parts of it, right, where all religions are equal, that's kufr. Right, straight up, that is kufr, to believe that all faiths are equal in the sight of God and they're all valid pathways to God. That's kufr, and that's what it promotes. Having said that, it's an amazing translation. It's an amazing translation, but I still tell people stay away from it. You want a good translation? We've always recommended Professor Abdul Halim's. There's one that I'm using at the moment, the Clear Quran by Dr. Mustafa Khattab. I think it's America. Really, really good.
Yeah.
Really, really. I'm impressed by it. I'm really impressed by it. I've been using it quite a lot recently. Very impressive, mashallah. The Clear Quran by Professor, I think he's Masri, I think he's Egyptian. Dr. Mustafa Khattab. Allahu Alam.
In terms of the Prophet's lineage, were they all Hunafa from Sayyidina Ismail to the Prophet sallallahu
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. That's the view of most. That's the view of most. I'll share a view which for many within Ahl Sunnah is surprising now. Many find it surprising, but I heard this from Shaykh Haroon, because it raises the question about what about Azar? What about Azar? Because if they're all, if none of them, if shirk didn't enter into it, and the Prophet said that no shirk or sifah, no shirk or idolatry or adultery entered into my line. And in Shaykh Haroon, one time I asked him this, and he says the first who suggested that Azar was the uncle was Imam Fakhruddin al-Razi. So before that, it was generally accepted that he was a father. That Azar was the actual father and he wasn't the uncle. So now it's taken as that it's an absolute that Azar was the uncle, just in order to, so that you don't have any shirk within the line of the Prophet ﷺ. But he mentioned that the first in the Mufassirin who mentioned that was Imam Fakhruddin al-Razi. And the issue there being that even though you have narrations that indicate that there's no shirk, that can either be aghlab, or that's taken that predominantly there's no shirk, but not necessarily absolute. Wallahu a'lam. Wallahu.
What's the ruling on beard length in the Hanafi madhab? And where do you measure it from?
What we were taught is that the majority of the Hanafi state that it's wajib to have a fist length for somebody who's able to. And some of our, it was either Shaykh Hassan al-Hindi or Shaykh Muhammad Jum'ah, they said there's two opinions. One states from the bottom of the lip, the other states from the bottom of the chin. Both opinions exist in the madhab.
What? Someone's doubting your lineage. They say, "What do you mean you're a Qurayshi?"
That's my family. That's my family name.
Yeah.
Allah.
Okay. Can your parents ask you to seek their permission before spending your own money up to a certain age in the Hanafi madhab? Do you have to obey them in this?
It is the highest standard that you do obey them. It does belong to you, but as the Prophet said to the Sahabi, "Anta wa maluka li abik," you and your wealth belongs to your father. So it is the higher. The higher is to, except in the case where if your parents are saying don't provide for your wife and don't provide for your kids, no, that's the highest. That's your fard. But if they're not asking you to do wrong, then the highest standard is that you do listen to them.
Is it an age where, like for instance, my kid, like Zayd's 12, elders are younger, can I say to them, no, you can't spend your money on buying, they want to spend £100 on buying a game or something. Can I say, no, you can't?
Is he listening?
No, he's not.
Okay, so shall I quickly get the answer out then before he does start listening?
Yeah.
And what's the answer that I need to give to him?
just tell them no. No. What would be the answer? Because I think that's what the question is getting at. Is there like is there an age where you can say no?
Before the age of puberty, any wealth that belongs to a child cannot be spent by the child without the parents' agree or without the father's agreement, without the father's consent. So if he's going to spend like £100 on some games and you feel that it's wasteful and so on, then you can stop him. Once they've hit puberty, once they're grown adults who know how to use their money, it's their money. But even then, the point was, even then, if your father is telling you not to, then the etiquette is to listen.
Someone was asking about book recommendations.
Sorry, Jav, just maybe one or two last questions if possible.
Okay. Someone was asking about book recommendations.
Do you want to answer that? I don't read books.
I'm too busy on Skype with listening to you. What would you suggest?
A book recommendation. Honestly, nothing comes to mind at the moment.
What is the linguistic meaning of Yajuj and Majuj?
I don't know off the top of my head. In fact, let me just quickly look. Yajuj and Majuj. Off the top of my head, I don't know. Let me just see if I can quickly find something. Do you have a copy of this book?
Which is it?
Mufradat al-Quran al-Raghib al-Asfahani.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Brilliant. Absolutely love it. Adib, do you have a copy? Gee. PDF. That's not a copy, that is. Adib's claiming that it comes from a non-Arabic origin, but I don't trust him. He just makes stuff up anyway. Let's see here. وَأْتَجَّ النَّهَارُ وَيَأْجُوجُ وَمَأْجُوجُ مِنْهُ شُبِّهُ بِالنَّارِ الْمُضْطَرِمَةِ وَالْمِيَاهُ الْمُتَمَوِّجَةِ لكثرة اضطرابهم. Imam al-Raghib al-Asfahani suggests that it comes from the verb ajja, i'tajja an-naharu. So speaking about waves, the powerful waves of the daytime, or not the daytime, of fire itself. شُبِّهُ بِالنَّهَارِ الْمُضْطَرِمَةِ وَالْمِيَاهِ. And so because when they come out, like just this constant waves of humanity coming out. So he said it's compared to like fire that blows with, and also water, and we have these constant waves. So that's what Imam al-Raghib al-Asfahani suggests. Wallahu.
Right. Two quick questions before we finish. If a Muslim man wants to marry a non-Muslim woman, what are the requirements? My understanding was that she has to be a practicing Christian. Is that true?
What is the question?
The question is saying that their understanding is that she has to be a practicing Christian.
No. Adib, just for everybody to know, Adib's accusing me of liking blondes. Oh, Adib behaviors. That's why, Adib. That's why we're never going to get you to host us. Host this. That's why.
Okay, so.
No. There's no requirement for it to be a practicing woman. She just needs to be a believing Christian or a Jewish woman. As long as she's believing, and that's the view of the Hanifis, that's enough, and then it's considered a valid marriage.
Okay, and the last one, we have to do this one because it's we kind of blew it off at the beginning. I've heard that most of the Dajjal's army will be women. How do we try to prevent ourselves and other family members from being one of these women?
يعني شيخنا الشيخ سامر النص حفظه الله ta'ala, what he said about that, he said the reason for that is because Dajjal calls towards the dunya, and he said that women that women are attracted, women by their nature are more attracted to the dunya, to materialism than men. So if a woman has a strong desire not to be part of it, and that's why women are attracted more to the way of the Dajjal than men. So break your love of the dunya, break your attachments and desire to amass wealth of this world. Wallahu a'lam.
It's strange. We just had like a load of new questions that couldn't access before turn up. Anyway, we're kind of running out of time now. Any last words of advice before we sign off, Sheikh?
We've lost one of the greats of this ummah today, Shaykh Nuruddin Atta, rahimahullah ta'ala. When we see people like that leaving, just it should drive us more to be servants of the knowledge of the Prophet. He lived his life in service of the words of the Prophet. And quite literally the words, because muhaddith, he was a scholar of hadith. So just push yourself out to fill that gap, because none of us are, or if Allah doesn't will that, none of us are going to take over this position and become like leading muhaddithin. But let's try and walk those footsteps. Be serious about taking knowledge from true sources, not to be pulled away by any Tom, Dick and Harry just turns up attracting people, just sounding like. Just get serious with your pursuit of knowledge, get serious with your pursuit of religion. Like that last question about the Dajjal, that's what we're seeing around us now, just love of the dunya so much that when the Dajjal comes, like, people are going to run after him. So when we see the loss of muhaddithin like this, one of the greats of this ummah, then just get serious, learning knowledge, learning your religion, and spreading it as wide as possible. Wallahu a'lam. Inshallah, we'll finish with that. Wa jazakumullah khair again. Thank you everybody for attending, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Islam.
Ya Nabi Salam.